Yo, what's up, y'all? Hope y'all feeling good. Today we're gonna be reacting to Silverback Gorilla versus Grizzly Bear by Tearzu. This is like a hotly debated topic. You know what I mean? Like everybody talks about it. Obviously, I don't need to watch this video. I know a bear could murk damn near any animal, and a gorilla for sure. So I know a gorilla looks scary, but obviously a gorilla can't do nothing. It's an ape. It's a primate, but he can't do nothing to a damn bear. Bears weigh like near a ton. A gorilla weighs like 200 kilos. You know what I'm saying? 400 pounds. Like bears, like double that, bro. So yeah. Anyway, way double that. Like four times that. You know what I mean? Depending on the size of the bear. But yeah, let's tap in. This should be interesting. Let's watch this.
The Silverback Gorilla and the Grizzly Bear, two of the most fearsome builds in the game. Because they're not playable in the same servers, the question of which of these is more powerful, or specifically which one would win in 1v1 combat, is a common subject of debate on the game's forums. So today we're going to delve into the stats and abilities of both of these powerful builds, and determine which one would come out on top in a deathmatch. Let's start with the Gorilla. In my Primate tier list video, I ranked the gorilla as S tier, and it was the only primate other than the human to get that top tier rank.
What? How?
And there's good reason for this. Just have a look at this thing's base stats. The gorilla is easily the most powerful of all the primates, with a power stat well beyond most mammal builds within its weight class. Its arms allow it to climb trees with ease.
Damn.
Keep in mind, they do this without investing in any of the perks which—
To be honest, the weirdest thing about a lot of primates, or rather a lot of apes, chimpanzees and humans don't really have this issue, but orangutans and gorillas do. What's up with the big ass stomach, man? I get it. Chimps and humans eat more meat than orangutans and gorillas. They eat more vegetables and fruits, and that can make your stomach because like if you eat vegetables and fruits, you need a bigger stomach to digest it. You can see it in cows and like all sorts of ruminants. So that's why they got that big ass stomach. It just looks like they have a big ass beard there. I don't like it. I don't like it. Plus, the teeth of a gorilla, this doesn't make any sense. Why are they so big?
which make climbing easier, like cling pads or hooked claws. No, gorillas do this on strength alone, and they still make it look easy. And so it should go without saying that those arms can also toss most other players around like a ragdoll, and can dish out some serious damage in a short flurry of blows. Gorillas also have massive canine teeth, and although these are mostly for intimidation, they can act as an extra damage-dealing attack option if the situation calls for it. Mobility-wise, they move surprisingly quick given how short their back legs are. While not great at distance running, their burst movement potential is shockingly high. Defensively, gorillas don't have much to talk about. Their thick hide and bulky muscles offer some protection, but with only skin and fur covering their exterior, most attacks will be effective against them. Luckily, their large size gives them a pretty generous hit point pool, so they should be able to tank a decent amount of hits in a pinch. Stealth-wise, gorillas are above average. Their coloration works pretty well in dense forests, although not as well as true camouflage patterns would. Because they walk on their hands and feet rather than hooves, they can move much more quietly than most herbivores, although not quite as silently as builds with padded paws and retractable claws. And finally, intelligence-wise, gorillas are far above average. Their complex social structure requires significant investment to the intelligence skill tree in order to unlock it. And in doing so, gorillas also gained access to basic tool use and team tactics. The most common tool use tactic seen in gorillas is the use of sticks and rocks in order to more effectively dig out termites from their mounds.
I have a question. Who's smarter, gorillas or chimps? I think most people assume chimps, but I would honestly hope gorillas are smarter because they're nicer.
Next, let's switch over to the brown bear. In my bear tier list,
this is not a discussion. I don't know why people think a gorilla could hold a candle to a bear. It's a damn bear.
I rated the brown bear at the lower end of S tier. Taking a look at its stats, we can immediately see just how overpowered this thing is. Although not quite as powerful as the polar bear, it's still one of the strongest carnivorous mammal builds in the entire game. One of the few that is able to take down builds like the moose, bison, and elk solo. Its power stat is just crazy high, mostly due to the insane damage a bear can dish out using its claw swipe attack. It's not uncommon for a single swipe from a grizzly to one-hit most players, as it deals both blunt force damage and slashing damage in no time. Unlike the gorilla, Bears also regularly use their teeth in combat, rather than just for intimidation,
See?
and in this aspect they excel as well. Defensively, the brown bear is quite sturdy. It has thick, loose skin, similar to the honey badger, which allows it to absorb serious blows without taking too much damage to their vitals.
Oh.
And with an HP stat similar to the gorilla, even if their opponents do score a critical hit, it's unlikely to mean an immediate game over. Stealth-wise, brown bears fare a little worse than the gorilla. Bears may not stick out that much visually, but they are some of the smelliest builds in the entire game, to the point where their odor often gives away their position long before they're detected via eyesight. Luckily for the brown bear, its incredible movement speed and endurance allow it to close the distance on fleeing players, even if they get a head start fleeing from the bear's scent. With a top speed roughly similar to a horse, very few builds can reliably escape a charging bear, especially given that bears can climb without issue as well.
Yo, by the way, so I lived in Europe, right? Like Central Europe, and I lived as well in Ireland, so near the UK and stuff. From what I understand, we don't have like dangerous wild animals in those areas. So I've never seen dangerous wild animals out here. But how do Americans just go outside? Just go to a park, a national park, walking through, going camping, and just like seeing a bear is nothing crazy to you. Like what the hell, a whole bear? Like bro, I couldn't do that stuff, man. Jesus
For
Christ.
those keeping track, this makes the bear's stats pretty much all either above or equal to the gorilla's with the exception of stealth. Of course, there's one stat we still haven't discussed yet: the bear's intelligence.
Oh my
When it comes to the gorilla versus grizzly debate, one thing that's often brought up is that the gorilla should be able to use its intelligence to easily outsmart the bear and gain a significant upper hand. Unfortunately for the gorilla, I vehemently disagree with this assessment. Not because gorillas aren't smart, but because bears are not dumb. A common quote you hear from human park ranger builds is that there's a great deal of overlap between the intelligence of the smartest bears and the dumbest humans, to the point where designing an effective bear-proof storage container is often impossible because it will also keep out a good number of humans it was meant to be used by. Bears are the most intelligent of all carnivoran builds, smarter than cats, dogs, weasels, foxes, seals, and hyenas. Their giant brains are a necessity in order to memorize key points of interest across their vast territories, and for them to strategize how to access the best quality loot.
I think that's why, and I think the black bears are smartest, and that's why they get used in circuses because they're so smart. Like it's crazy. You never think that.
This isn't to say the grizzly bear is going to invent some galaxy-brained gorilla trap on the spot or anything, but neither is the gorilla. Gorillas are incredibly intelligent builds for sure, but their intelligence manifests in their complex social dynamics and their tool use. In this scenario, it's 1v1, so the social dynamics is a non-factor. That just leaves their tool use, and in this regard, I think most players drastically overestimate the gorilla's abilities. Gorillas are not supreme bushcraft weaponsmiths. In fact, their use of weapons at all is almost non-existent in the gorilla player base. They will use rocks to more efficiently access insect larvae. But as for personal defense, the only strategy gorillas have access to is the intimidation-based technique of tossing debris in an adversary's general direction. When done in groups, this is extremely effective, and is often how a party of gorillas will ward off an approaching leopard in their...
That's true. Like it's not really fair to pit one gorilla versus a bear. Bears are solitary. They move by themselves for the most part. Gorillas are always with someone. So you have to have at least 2 to 3 gorillas versus one bear. And that wouldn't be a fair fight. So.
Natural ecosystem. But 1 versus 1 versus a bear, there was no way this would be enough to deter an attack. The bear's own high intelligence would give it a high chance to resist the intimidation effect. And once the bear has closed the distance, the bear is winning this fight at least 95% of the time.
Yeah.
The gorilla would need not one, but several critical hits in a row to successfully take down a bear. Meanwhile, the bear would only need a few good bites and swipes before it's game over for the gorilla. So ultimately, that's how I think this matchup would go. Admittedly, I think it's a bit unfair to set up a scenario where the gorilla's most powerful ability is taken off the table, but the bear remains completely untouched.
Wait, let me see that again.
The gorilla's most powerful this matchup would go. Admittedly, I think it's a bit...
That's perfect. That's exactly what I want to say. A gorilla would need to fight a one grizzly bear, they need at least a group of them, right? But 4 gorillas versus 1 bear is not fair at all. Because you see, let's see.
A bit unfair to set up a scenario where
3, still unfair.
the gorilla's most powerful ability...
2, more fair. I would say two versus one is a little more fair, but still unfair. But the drastic thing is, once it's just one, look at these numbers.
Is taken off the table, but the bear remains.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the problem. This is not a question. You cannot say gorilla versus a grizzly freaking bear. Like, are you serious? Like, bro, that's like saying freaking caterpillar big ass truck versus a tiny sedan or not. I don't know. No, I don't know cars. Like, but like a tiny Kia, bro. Like a Kia, we just get steamrolled by a freaking truck, bro. Like, come on, it's nothing.
Remains completely untouched. But that's the downside of investing in team tactics.
Bro.
If you ever find yourself caught off guard with no allies nearby, you might lose battles that you should otherwise at least have a fighting chance in. If you find this analysis unsatisfactory, we can approach it another way, which would be to take a look at their matchup spread and see if we can find any easy comparisons. While gorillas and bears never encounter each other in the wild and have no experience fighting each other, both the gorilla and the brown bear need to contend with big cats. While obviously not in North America, on other servers, brown bears actually sometimes share hunting territory with the tiger. This is the largest big cat build in existence, one which is powerful enough to, on rare occasion, take down rhinos and elephants solo. Matches between bears and tigers tend to be pretty even. While there are recorded instances of tigers defeating bears and bears defeating tigers, generally these matchups tend to end in stalemates, where neither player is truly defeated.
That's a way more fair fight than a gorilla versus a bear. Tiger versus bear actually is like, damn, who would win that? Actually, because again, as far as strength wise for primates, gorilla top tier. Strength wise for dog like creatures, bear top tier. Strength wise for cat like creatures, tiger top tier. But within that trio, a freaking gorilla cannot hold a candle to either to a gorilla or to a bear or a tiger. Like, it's nothing. But a tiger versus a bear, now that's something you can work with there.
However, when we take a look at the gorilla's matchup spread against its most common big cat opponent, the leopard, we see that the gorillas actually tend to lose this matchup.
What?
Leopards are far less powerful than tigers, yet nonetheless, even a leopard can score kills on gorillas. I think this is more a function of the difference in the bear and gorilla's defensive stats than its offensive stats. Even with its above-average constitution stats, the gorilla's low defenses make it too much of a glass cannon, and in a massive slugfest fight like the subject of this video, the inability to absorb a lot of damage is an absolutely crippling disadvantage.
Damn.
No joke, I get this question at least once a week. It's to the point where if someone DMs me saying, I have a question, I just answer, the bear wins. And like 50% of the time, that's all they need. Now you know why. Hopefully you see me as an unbiased and trustworthy source for these.
I think it was crazy how much explanation he needed for this. This is such a simple answer. Like, it should not have to get debated.
Sorts of analyses. But trustworthy sources are hard to come.
Well, that was a really good video. I enjoyed that. It should not be difficult to know that a bear would fucking tank a gorilla. If you think a gorilla holds a candle to a damn bear or a tiger, you're freaking crazy. But I hope y'all enjoyed that. I enjoyed it. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.